as a source of artistic inspiration. Since the beginning of human consciousness, nature has been more than just the environment in which we live. It has been a teacher, a mirror, and above all, a source of artistic inspiration. When artists, writers, and musicians turn their gaze toward nature, they do not simply record its external beauty. They respond to its eternal rhythms, its cycles of life and death, and its mysterious sense of timelessness. The concept of eternal nature has nourished art across centuries and civilizations, shaping human creativity in profound ways. Nature in the visual arts. From prehistoric times, humans have tried to capture the eternal spirit of the natural world. The earliest cave paintings in Lascaux and Altamira, created tens of thousands of years ago, depict animals not only as sources of food, but as sacred beings, symbols of survival and continuity. These works reflect a recognition that nature is both fragile and eternal, something worth honoring through images. During the Renaissance, artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Albrecht Dürer studied the forms of plants, animals, and landscapes with scientific precision. For them, nature was a reflection of divine order, an eternal harmony between the human and the cosmic. The Romantic painters of the 18th and 19th centuries, such as Caspar David Friedrich, J.M.W. Turner, and Thomas Cole, emphasized nature's sublime power. Their vast landscapes, stormy seas, and majestic mountains suggested that nature was eternal in comparison to fleeting human lives. Friedrich's famous painting Wanderer, Above the Sea of Fog, depicts a lone figure facing a seemingly endless landscape, embodying both human smallness and the eternal immensity of nature. In the 20th and 21st centuries, artists like Georgia O'Keeffe, Ansel Adams, and contemporary land art creators such as Andy Goldsworthy continued this tradition. They highlight not only the beauty of natural forms, but also the idea that art itself is temporary, while nature endures. Goldsworthy's works, for example, are often made of leaves, ice, or stones, and are left to decay, a reminder of both impermanence and eternity. Nature in literature. Writers and poets have always looked to nature to express the deepest truths of human life. The eternal cycles of the seasons, the rising and setting of the sun, and the flowing of rivers serve as metaphors for the human journey. In classical literature, Homer described the wine-dark sea as a symbol of mystery and endlessness, while Virgil's Georgics celebrated agriculture as a way to live in harmony with the eternal rhythms of the earth. In Romantic poetry, nature became even more central. William Wordsworth saw it as a moral and spiritual guide, writing in Tintern Abbey that nature can lead the human heart from joy to joy. Walt Whitman, in Leaves of Grass, celebrated the eternal connection between humanity and the cosmos through the natural world. Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, leaders of American transcendentalism, emphasized nature as a doorway to the eternal, a living scripture where truth could be read. In modern literature, writers such as Rachel Carson in Silent Spring and contemporary eco-poets like Gary Snyder have continued this legacy. For them, the eternal nature is not only a muse, but a warning. It will survive beyond humanity, but our survival depends on respecting its eternal laws. Nature and music. Nature's eternal rhythms have deeply influenced music. In ancient times, chants and folk songs often imitated natural sounds, the rustling of leaves, the cries of birds, the rush of rivers. These early melodies were an attempt to harmonize human life with the eternal pulse of the earth. Classical composers carried this forward. Antonio Vivaldi's Four Seasons translates the eternal cycle of spring, summer, autumn, and winter into sound. Ludwig van Beethoven, especially in his Pastoral Symphony, captured the eternal spirit of nature through flowing melodies that imitate streams, storms, and birdsongs. Claude Debussy, with pieces like La Mer, gave voice to the eternal mystery of the ocean. In the modern era, musicians continue to draw inspiration from nature. John Cage used natural silence and chance operations to reflect nature's unpredictability. Contemporary ambient music often incorporates recordings of natural sounds, rain, thunder, wind, to remind listeners of their eternal connection to the earth. Even in film scores, nature's eternity inspires awe. Think of the sweeping orchestral music in documentaries like Planet Earth, where music becomes the voice of the eternal planet itself. The eternal dialogue between humanity and nature. What makes nature eternal in art is not just its beauty, but its paradox. It is always changing, yet it remains the same. A sunset is different every evening, yet it is always a sunset. A river flows endlessly, yet its path is eternal. This tension between permanence and impermanence has been a source of artistic wonder for millennia. Artists, writers, and musicians attempt to capture these moments, not to freeze them forever, but to remind us of the eternal cycles we share with the world. Every brushstroke, every line of poetry, every musical note is an echo of the eternal rhythms of the earth. Eternal nature is more than a backdrop for human life. It is an ever-present force that inspires us to create, to imagine, and to dream. Across time and culture, from ancient cave paintings to modern symphonies, nature has remained humanity's most enduring muse. Through art, literature, and music, we do not simply imitate nature. We enter into a dialogue with it. We learn from its cycles, we mirror its beauty, and we seek to capture its eternal essence. And though human creations may fade, the inspiration drawn from nature's eternal presence ensures that the conversation continues, an unbroken thread linking past, present, and future. Echoes and modern resonances. While eternal nature has always been a muse for painters, poets, and musicians, its influence goes beyond isolated works of art. Across civilizations and centuries, cultures have shaped their creative visions around the idea of a nature that transcends time, eternal, cyclical, and divine. Eternal nature in world cultures. Ancient civilizations. In Egypt, the annual flooding of the Nile was not simply a natural event, but a sacred rhythm. Artists painted lotus flowers, papyrus reeds, and sun disks to express the eternal balance between life, death, and rebirth. The pyramids themselves, aligned with stars in the path of the sun, reflect a belief that human art could mirror the eternal order of the cosmos. In India, eternal nature has long been embedded in religious and artistic traditions. The sacred river Ganges, the Himalayas, and the cycles of monsoon rains appear in poetry, sculpture, and classical music. The eternal rhythm of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, finds its echoes in artistic expressions that flow endlessly, like ragas that unfold without end. In East Asia, Chinese landscape painting, shan shui, embodies eternal nature not as a realistic image, but as a spiritual essence. Vast mountains, flowing rivers, and misty skies remind viewers of the eternal Tao, the way of nature. Japanese haiku poets like Basho captured the fleeting moment, mono no aware, as a reflection of eternal beauty. A frog leaping into a pond, a cherry blossom falling, a snowflake melting. Indigenous traditions. For many indigenous peoples across the Americas, Africa, and Oceania, eternal nature is not a symbol, but a living relative. Rock carvings, totem poles, chants, and dances do not represent nature. They are acts of communication with it. Eternal cycles of hunting, planting, and celestial events are woven into their art as testimony that humanity is part of a larger, unending story. Eternal nature in modern and contemporary art. As humanity entered the modern age, the eternal presence of nature continued to inspire new forms of creativity. Impressionist painters like Monet and Renoir sought to capture fleeting natural light, yet in doing so revealed the eternal dance of seasons and hours. Monet's water lilies, painted hundreds of times, were his attempt to capture the eternal in the ever-changing. Romantic and symbolist poets such as Shelley or Mallarmé gazed upon the stars and seas as metaphors for eternity itself, using words to bridge human emotion with cosmic permanence. Contemporary land art directly engages with eternal nature. Works by Robert Smithson, Spiral Jetty, or Andy Goldsworthy use natural materials, stone, wood, leaves, not to defy time but to surrender to it. These works decay, dissolve, or vanish, leaving behind only memory and documentation. In this way, the art accepts the eternal cycles of growth and decay. Eternal nature in modern music. Even in music today, nature's eternity remains a core influence. Film scores inspired by nature, such as those in The Lion King, Avatar, or Interstellar, blend orchestral sound with natural imagery to remind us of our cosmic place. World music traditions, from Native American flute songs to African drum rhythms, continue to echo eternal natural cycles, day and night, rain and drought, planting and harvest. Electronic and ambient music now incorporates recordings of forests, oceans, and storms, blending technology with timeless sounds to create a new dialogue between eternal nature and human invention. Philosophy and the eternal nature of art. Philosophers, too, have recognized eternal nature as the foundation of artistic inspiration. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus declared that nature loves to hide. meaning that its eternal truth is always present but never fully revealed. Artists, in seeking to represent nature, are always chasing this hidden essence. Nietzsche celebrated the eternal return, the idea that life repeats endlessly, which has inspired countless writers and musicians to explore cyclical themes in their works. Modern eco-philosophy argues that true art must engage with eternal nature, not only to celebrate it, but also to protect it in an age of ecological crisis. Conclusion: the eternal mirror. Eternal nature is not just an influence on art, it is a mirror of our deepest longings. Every brushstroke of a painter, every verse of a poet, every chord of a musician is, at its heart, an attempt to answer the same timeless question: how do we live in harmony with something greater than ourselves? Whether in the lotus of an Egyptian fresco, the haiku of a Japanese poet, the storm symphonies of Beethoven, or the fragile leaf sculptures of Goldsworthy, eternal nature whispers the same truth. It outlives us, yet it includes us. Art, then, becomes not only a celebration of eternal nature, but also a way to ensure that, through human creativity, its eternal voice continues to echo across time.